Hey, great people. Thank you for joining us. I am Chidi Akuna.
And I'm Victor Akuna.
Hey, we've been on a series titled Navigating the Parenting Journey.
Wow.
And we have had a number of guests. I don't know if you've seen the last two episodes. If you haven't, you definitely are missing out on some information. You need to go see them. We had for the first one, Aisata Lemadim, and oh my goodness, she just took us to another level. We focused on ages, children between the ages 0 and 5.
Yeah.
And then we had Dr. Mara Amugo, who just kicked the ball out of the park. And she took us through her experience as a mother of a child, focusing on her experience between ages 5 and 10. But I tell you, these mothers went around. They didn't it wasn't just about that age group. They shared things that moms at any level can benefit from. We have learned a lot so far. So if you haven't seen those two, I think you would want to see them. It's on our YouTube channel, Foundation for Family Affairs. Please just get on there and see for yourself. Today we have another phenomenal guest. We have Bukola Kiki Jolugbo from Joshua's Army. People will be wondering why you're reacting like that.
Yeah, you know why I'm reacting like that is that there's so much to unpack, so much to learn, so much to process. Yeah. That's what I was looking for. So much to process from what she said. The examples she used, she was so authentic, she was so vulnerable. Honestly, if you are a parent or you have young people you are responsible for, this series is going to save you years. It will prevent you from regretting missing out on some specific things. Very important. Someone said something. It is better to raise strong children than to repair broken adults. It is better to raise strong children than to repair broken adults. And one thing about parenting is that you don't know it all. You have to glean from other people's experiences so you don't make those same mistakes. Honestly, I can't tell you how fortunate we are that we are doing this in the Mother's, what do you call it now?
The period of Mother's
Day. This is the month of mothers to celebrate our mothers. But we are now turning it around to ensure that we draw from the wealth of experience in this phenomena. You need to. We're not saying this because it's on our YouTube channel. We're saying this because we are doing this to save you time on your parenting journey.
Yes, we have learned a lot. And feel free to share this with your friends, with people you think might need them.
Yes.
If you are new to our channel, feel free to hit the subscribe button and the bell next to it so you know when we drop our content. So let's get Mrs. Bukola Jolugbo out. We will let you in on the wonderful, wonderful, enriching session we have had with her.
Fantastic.
Enjoy. We are live, and we have with us the great coach from Joshua's Army.
Absolutely.
We will let her introduce herself, but we're very excited about the session and all we'll be learning today. Please introduce yourself, ma'am. Thank you for joining us. We are so grateful to have you here. Really looking forward to this session.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Wow. Okay, how do I introduce myself now? Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for having me, Dr. and Mrs. Akuna. It's such a beautiful thing to always do life with you guys. It's a honor, and I want to say thank you. So my name is Bukola Jolugbo. I love to be called Kiki because it's a pet name, and I kind of just fell in love with that name. And I'm the founder of Joshua's Army, where we raise boys to become wholesome and extraordinary young men. And Joshua's Army has been around for over 7 years, or just about 7 years, to God's glory. And we've been reaching the lives of boys, touching the lives of boys, helping them live transformed, understand what purpose is, what vision is, and how to channel their strength rightly. Also, we work with fathers. Yes, I'm very passionate about fatherhood. And so one of the things we do at Joshua's Army is create a community for fathers of boys, or fathers generally, that would call themselves the Better Dad Club. And by God's grace, we're launching something for mothers. There's a Naomi's Tribe. So mothers of Christian mothers of boys. What else? Professionally, I'm a user researcher and I work with public sector, and I'm also a mother of two amazing young men and a wife to one beautiful man as well.
Oh, that's so sweet. Wow, thank you. And we appreciate the work you do at Joshism. Well done. Well done.
Fantastic. We appreciate the work you do. We like the energy you bring to things. You like the creativity you bring and the vibe, and you bring your personality and creativity to stuff. So we're really happy that you've accepted to do this interview, and we want to glean from your wealth of experience. We've been friends for a while. I've seen how you raise those boys from little tiny boys, the boys with these hot keyboards. They've made a lot of transitions. And so we want you to share part of your journey to see how, what are the highs, what are the lows, what are the things you've learned, what are the things you wish you've learned. So we're going to be asking you a few questions as well, and so that you can people can follow us as we go along.
And at some point in the course of the interview, we'll focus on your work with teenagers.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Okay, so how would you describe, in few words, how would you describe your parenting journey?
Beautiful. Thank you. I'd say that my parenting journey, mine personally, has been fun. Because if you know me, fun, happiness is one of my core values. So anything I'm doing, I have to be happy doing it. So I try to get fun from everything as much as possible. So first, my parenting journey has been fun, and I'll probably explain what that means later on. And then maybe off the back of fun is that it's been adventurous. And there's so many highs and lows, there's so many aha moments, and you're like, okay, how do we navigate this? And you just, when you're in the middle of the ocean and you just keep diving deep and diving deep and diving deep, so that and as you're diving, you're discovering so many things. So for me, I think I am a deep diver. So when things happen, I go deeper to discover things. And that's why I say probably adventurous. And the third one is very related to what happened this morning, which is, I say, educating as well. Where my son, we're talking about, I was getting ready for this, and then we're talking about going to church and everything. I can't remember what he said, and he said, "But you should be thankful to me because I've raised you well." Huh? You raised exactly my reaction. I'm like, you raised me well. Where's that coming from? I raised you. And he said, well, you raised me, but I think I have raised you as well. And I said, okay, in what way? Tell me more about that. And he said, I've seen you develop over the years. Your personal development, your character development. I've seen you grow into an amazing woman and a good mother. And so, yeah, I think I have a part in that as well, Mom. So I said, okay, yes, if that's what you mean, yes, you do. And I think that's because I take learning seriously. So when things happen, it's not just shoved to the side. What can I learn from this that has happened? And how can I develop myself? So I say the third is educating. The journey has been very educative for me. Thank you.
Fantastic. I like the disposition you have about learning, because one thing that sometimes you can say in some parents, we come from this high force. I know the right thing. I tell you what. So for your child to say I've raised you, some people will find it insulting.
Yeah.
But for you to even have the curiosity, the humility to ask, okay, tell me more. That little shift can make a huge difference. So that's why you see some parents, some children rather, because I also work with teenagers, people like, you know what, there's no point talking to my parents because they won't hear my side of the story. They've already made up their mind what they want, and they are feeling like, so is it because I'm younger, I'm less of a human? So to come from that point of view where you say, no, tell me more. You're just curious, not just trying to poke what you're saying. You are actually curious. You actually want to know, because they'll know when you're just playing the parenting game and when you truly want to know. So that's really, really beautiful. Fantastic.
I think the curiosity came through as well when you talked about being adventurous, your journey being adventurous. I like when you said you're a deep diver, but then you dive deeper when certain issues come up.
Yeah.
Okay,
Fantastic.
so we'll be exploring some of those issues shortly. But before then, before then, what has been the most rewarding moment for you as a mother? What would you say?
I think, okay, seeing that my children are a lot older now, my son will be, my first will be 21 soon, and actually both of them are home now because they came to spend time with their dad. And on Friday, my youngest son was saying, Mom, wow, I'll be 20 this year. Wow. So they're quite grown. And I think the most rewarding part is see my children grow to live what we have intentionally taught them. And I think, like I said earlier on, the journey has been adventurous, and that means there has been some very aha moments, But even in those aha moments, taking the time to deliberately teach the boys, and be able to put some things straight, instill values, and be able to create and maintain that relationship with them is been the most rewarding thing. So for my 20-year-old to come home, and when he's not feeling well, he feels, I want to lie on mom's bed, I want to lie down next to mom. So that comfort, it's really rewarding for me. And I'll say that I would raise boys over and over again because I've enjoyed the bliss with being a mother of boys. My older son had too much to eat on Friday night. They went out, he came back and he had dinner, and he was feeling very uncomfortable. And the first place he came to was our bed. And it was like, Mom, I'm feeling so uncomfortable. What do I do? I said, see, you need to throw up. If you feel you've eaten too much. And, we kind of patted his back until everything came out, and he felt relieved. And he said, oh, thank you for that, Mom. And he went away. So being able to see that relationship grow over the years, such that even when I've not done it right, they have the confidence to tell me that, oh, Mom, you didn't do this, or that's not right. And then we're able to learn. There's something one of them said to me over the weekend that I'm not going to tell you guys, but I said, oh, okay, what can I do to get that better? So that relationship for me, I think it's most rewarding. And you said earlier on, Dr. Victor, that you've known me for so many years, and I want to say that based on that, I'm sure you would agree with me that my relationship with my boys didn't just start today.
No.
It's been from when they were toddlers. So being able to, I intentionally made room for that relationship with them. And then now that they're men, seeing the reward that we still have that relationship, it's amazing. And it doesn't mean that there are times they say, oh, Mom, you know what? It's okay. Just step back. I can handle this. And I go, okay, that's fine. But it's still as a result of that relationship. So I think that's been the most rewarding part for me.
Fantastic. I like the emphasis on relationship. There's a quote I saw one time, and somebody was saying that sometimes parents over-focus on rules because we don't want them to make error. And the person said, while that is important, it's always good for you to focus on relationship. Because if you focus on relationship and that connection, that is one of the best way to impact and to rub off on somebody else. Like one of our common mentors would say that proximity is the key to impact. You can't really influence someone unless the person has access to you in a certain way. So, having that relationship, some of the things you are trying to imply, some of the rules you're trying to implement, they will see it, you living it out. They will see you doing some certain things. So let's say, for example, you want them to be more prudent in the way they manage money. By the time they see how probably you were in debt, how you came out of it, how you have learned, how you have improved, there's nothing more powerful than that. Them seeing that mom, even though she has made an error here, I'm not saying you've done that, I'm only using an example. you know, who can
Oh
see
yeah, Dr.
someone.
Victor, I have. That's a true life story you just
Oh,
told.
okay.
That in particular. And you know what? One
Mm,
of the things I did when I was struggling with financial management was
mm,
I called them and I told them, this is what I am
wow.
going through right now. And this is what it means to your dad, because my husband is a very prudent man. So I
Mm,
have made a couple of financial errors. This is what
mm,
it means to your dad. This is how your dad feels about it. This is what how I
wow.
feel, and this is what I am going to do.
Ah,
So one of the things I did was I paid for a financial coach. And
mm,
then when he gives me tasks, when he gives me, the first thing he did was create a spreadsheet for me, budgeting spreadsheet. It was my first son. I called and I said, see, okay, be telling me, I'm putting this. Okay, what do you think? And we did it together.
mm,
And guess what? When sometime early last year, he came to me and said, Mom, can you forward me that budgeting tool that we used for your budgeting the other day? And he did
wow.
it. And if I tell you his net worth now, you'll be like, really, a 20-year-old boy, just
Wow.
from that, even his younger brother. So I
Wow.
think what you just said is a true life story. I'm not ashamed to say it because
Wow.
I have learned from it.
Mm,
Being transparent is
mm,
not all of my issues, quote and unquote, that they know. But
mm,
again, it is all of my learnings, all of my
mm.
developments that are transparent to them for depending on their level per time, so that they can learn from it, even with their father. And it gladdens my heart. This morning when we're still talking, my husband, I was saying to my husband, I said, see, come and go to Nigeria. You are being too naughty now, blah, blah, blah. And my son came, my husband said, oh, I'm going in April. And my son came and said, Dad, are you going in April? He said, oh, yes, I'm going in April. And he was making his face at me. But because the boy was standing behind him, the boy didn't see that. And you could see that my son's face had dropped. And I said, see, your son's face had dropped. Please stop. If this is a joke, stop it now before
Oh,
and they started talking about it and everything. So being transparent, I think it's a
mm,
very rewarding thing, but
mm,
depending on their age, and the level of understanding per time.
mm.
Awesome. Awesome.
Fantastic.
So already with what you've shared, I can tell there's a lot of openness on
Mm,
your part.
mm,
There's a lot of flexibility
mm,
because for your son
mm,
to have that courage to
mm,
say what he said to you this morning. I mean, I'm sure he knew you
mm,
will take it.
mm,
Mom would take it, and she would make the necessary adjustment.
mm.
But in your words, let's hear from you. How has parenting changed you?
Wow, that's a big question. How has parenting changed me? So, I think parenting has helped me find myself. I think that's one major area it's changed me. Growing up, I am a very expressive person. I love to talk, I love to play. And so growing up, you could imagine the number of slaps I had when it comes to keep quiet, you talk, shut up, you talk too much,
Mm,
this kind of slap and
mm,
everything. And
mm,
so it got to a point in my life that I knew I wasn't myself. I was more or less, you could say, a timid girl,
mm,
because I was tired of those slaps and everything.
mm,
And so when I got married, with my husband, he could see that this is who she is. And
mm.
thank God for him. Sometimes he struggled with, okay, let me just listen to her and I'll just be talking. I'll be asking questions and giving the answers myself and all and all and that. But as I became a parent, I realized that there is that part of expression, and
Mm,
there is also that part of you being able to listen and have
mm,
others express themselves. So it's not just about my view, it's not
mm,
just about what I have to say, but what others have got to say as well. And
mm,
I realized that at some point I wasn't a good listener. So when my sons were getting to those teen years, I had to go. So I went in to study counseling. And
mm,
while I was doing that, there was this module, listening module. I
mm,
did that module twice because I felt, this is key for me as a parent, particularly as my children are becoming teenagers. The ability to be able to listen to them, and then how would I make them know that I am listening, so that they're confident that they can talk to me. And that's developing that part in me. That's one. That listening skill was a major development in me. And it also helped me in what I do with families, with boys, with fathers. Also, integrity. Oh my word. With children, you can't have the loyalty, the love, the connection with your child if you're not a person of integrity. If you do not have integrity, your children will struggle with you. So when mom says, so for me, when I say, come to me at 8 p.m., I am setting my alarm to 5 minutes to 8 to say they're going to come to me, so that I have that time for them. And then when they come to me, or when something happens and it's not exactly the way I have planned, or I have told them it will be, I have the integrity to say I am sorry. I have the integrity to accept it, and it became a slogan in my ear that I always say that if it matters to one, then it matters to all. So if it matters to one person in this house, it has to matter to everybody. And that's part of why my son said, oh, character development. I have grown in the place of listening. I have grown in the place of integrity, and using the skill that God gives me, which is ability to talk well. I have grown in that. My ability to talk, I intentionally channel it to talking sense. So I'm not talking. If I'm in a group of people, if I'm in a place and I don't have anything sensible to say, as much as I love to talk, I will keep quiet and I'll be looking. I will not talk because of what I have learned in my journey as a parent.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Man,
That's
listening,
awesome.
that's
awesome.
phenomenal.
Yes, I love it.
That's phenomenal. Listening is one of the most powerful skill when it comes to communication, because you can't really hear people's hearts, because sometimes people say things, but beyond, you must be able to listen beyond the words that they say. And if there's, if the people who's this kind of comments is more appropriate for is our children, because sometimes they say things and they are watching our facial expression. They are saying something beyond, you must hear beyond what they are saying. Another thing I also like that you said was the integrity part. I mean, many people that grew up in people from probably African background, or Asian background, or Caribbean background. I don't know much about Asian background. Sometimes parents make a lot of promises to them, but they don't keep it. For example, oh, if you hit this grade, I will do X, Y, Z. Loan me that money, and then when you want to ask for your money back, they'll tell you, how have you not been eating this house? what kind of a situation is this? I loaned you money, I'm asking for my money, asking me how many people have bring out the money of the things you have been eating this house. Was that the agreement originally? How many people have been promised bikes? Oh, I'm going to buy you a bike, when you do X, Y, Z.
When the bike never comes.
So bike never arrives. So people get used to, when their parents say something, they take it with a pinch of salt. And so sometimes parents don't know that sometimes some of those frivolous comments that they make, those children take them as law. They take them seriously. So, and like what you said, that when you ask them to do something, you set an alarm. You've created a system that will help you to be a person of integrity. Because if you leave yourself to yourself, you may be carried away with the task at hand. You may be carried away with something else, with a deadline, and you may just forget. So you use a device that you have access to be able to help you to achieve what you want to do. So that's really powerful. Phenomenal.
Thank
awesome. Awesome. I'm loving this. Okay, so let's drink some more. Let's go deeper. What would you advise? What would your advice be to new mothers, to mothers who are yet to get to the stage you are? I mean, speaking through the years, from your experience through the years. Let's hear from you.
What would my advice be to new mothers? I think the most important one for me is maximize every moment as you have it. The truth is, in parenting, no moment lasts forever. You know where the Bible says, and it came to pass. There's plenty of that in the Bible, and it came to pass.
True.
80% of things in your parenting journey that you're going through are things that are coming and are passing. So things will come and they will pass. So when that child is a baby and is suckling and is using his gum to bite your nipple, and it came to pass. So enjoy that pain, because sometimes when you look back, you'll be like, I remember that time, and you'll be laughing to yourself. You know, when your child is a toddler and they're running about and it came to pass, there will be a time you will look back and you'll be wondering, where has that gone? I remember there was a time when my son, my older son is August baby, so he's usually the youngest in his class. And I think it was when he was 14, I think it was in year 10. So almost, or year 9, I think. But you know, when it was getting closer to that period of GCSE, and he would come home from school all quiet and grumpy. And this is us that would play and make noise. And he would come home all quiet and grumpy and everything. And one day he did something and I just said, I looked at him, I said, where's my son? And he said, what do you mean? I said, where's that boy that we used to laugh together? We used to do this together, do that together. And he said, Mom, that boy, I don't know. But you see this boy that you have right now is the boy that is thinking about passing GCSE. Is the boy that is thinking about A levels. This boy is the boy that is thinking about the changes in my body. And he just went on, and I just sat back. And I was just listening to him. And I think he said about 10 different things. And I said, wow, how can I walk with that boy? Even though I can't remember how the conversation went, but I would never forget that question and his response. So now I look back and I'm saying, oh, thank God I enjoyed that little boy then. Because now that little boy is actually the boy. Now that boy that was thinking about GCSE and thinking about all of that is a boy that is thinking about, now he's no longer thinking about GCSE, he's thinking about, oh, my professional exam is in another few weeks. Before my 25th first birthday, I want to be able to get this for myself. Oh, this is what I want to do. So every moment counts. Live the moment. Be intentional about the moment. Parenting is a tough journey. I always say that my parents didn't tell me I didn't come with a manual. So I shouldn't expect my children to come with one. So the manual you have, for us that are Christians, is the Bible, the Word of God, the Holy Spirit inside of you. But it doesn't mean that you will not hit those brick wall. As you hit the brick wall, bring out your dagger, hit it back, shake off the bricks, and enjoy the moment. And even in our marriages, there is no marriage that is built on a bed of roses. No, I can see all the red love on my screen right now. And I like the fact that there are some white, tiny things around it and blue. It comes with all shades. See, and those shades are coming. How am I coloring my life with those shades and just enjoying the moment? Because life is meant to be enjoyed. And you cannot enjoy parenting, you cannot enjoy life if you're not intentional about it. Finally, on that question, as parents, what are your values? What are your visions for your children? Have the end in mind, and then start with the end in mind. So when you know that this is where I'm taking my child to, this is how I'm going to get there. If your child is royalty and you know that the end, okay, this boy is going to end in the palace, from now you begin to talk to him like a prince. If he's going to end in as a CEO, maybe not as a king in the palace, but a CEO, then you begin to talk to him as a CEO. You know, you begin to use those languages. So have a vision. What is your vision for your children? Finally, go grab a word from God. And then when I say go grab a word from God, I'm not saying go and kneel down by your bed and be waiting for God to speak to you. The Bible is the word of God. Go and search the Bible and go and search quotes for parenting in the Bible. Read through anyone that you see. I like this one. Trust me, that's God speaking. And then take that and run with it. Thank you.
That's very simple.
There's a lot to unpack here. Let me start from the last one. Have a word about your child. This particular word that resonates with you as you study the scripture. Just like this one is about this child. And that's why you see some parents that it doesn't matter how off their children are going, they say, no, I know what God told me about you. You must come back to this. And they keep declaring that. They keep declaring. And I'm seeing that one thing about God's word is that it will always come true. It will always come to pass. So I like how you started out when you said, it shall come to pass. Because sometimes when we are in the moment, we are panicking and thinking, is this how this is going to end? Or it will come to pass. So this is just to encourage a woman that might be, you have a child that is 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. Your children are not up to 20 yet, but you have things that you are panicking about. Someone who has been through that journey is telling you, it shall come to pass. Use that every moment, be intentional about the moment, learn from it, but just remember that it shall come to pass. Be encouraged.
Awesome. I'm encouraged. I'm encouraged. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Okay. Now, focusing on your experience with teenagers, with your children in that phase as well, what challenges did you encounter in that phase? And then if you had to do it all over again, what would you do different?
Wow, that's a deep question. That requires me thinking a lot. I think the major challenges I encountered as a parent is not being aware of the fact that my husband is raised differently from the way I was raised. So I think both of us would say that's one thing we took for granted, that we both have different backgrounds. And so our views, our perspectives to things might differ. So I think and then having boys, seeing how passionate I am about boys and men and fatherhood, I was very hands-on, my sons, forgetting that they're not my sons, just my sons. They are our sons, and then being able to allow dad early. I was on an interview, I think during the week, and I was one of the things I said was, mothers, do not make the mistakes of not allowing dad, because not allowing dad is not just that you're depriving dad, you're depriving your children, particularly if you have sons. So for me, that's I gotta do it. I have to do it. So they're going to music class, I want to take them. They're going to ballet, I'm taking them. They're going for football, they're going for basketball, and I was burning out. And men, God bless men. Men want to do, but when they see that you're doing it, because 80% of men are not confrontational. So when they see that you're doing it, okay, particularly when they love you and they feel that you're happy doing it, is giving you fulfillment. So it's not because they don't want to do it, but because they're concerned that my wife is being fulfilled. Why not allow her? And then unfortunately you are burning out. The day I realized that was the day I said to my husband, oh God, I'm so tired. Please, can you help me take Fokwe to basketball? And he said, help you? Okay, I will take Fokwe to basketball. And then when they left, I began to think about it. Come to think of it, why am I asking him to help me? Is it not our responsibilities? Why am I being the one that is being helped? And I began to change my perspective. This was when my son was, I think Fokwe was in year 7 or so. And I began to change. And I found out that changing that, I began to glow because my perspective began to change and burnout began to reduce. And I began to glow. Add weight, healthy weight. And I was like, okay, this is actually beautiful. So one major challenge for me is wanting to do everything by myself. Another one is not allowing my husband on time. My husband was in the UK with Dr. Victor, if you remember, and I was in Nigeria with my boys. So again, maybe because I was used to doing everything for them and with them. So I carried on even when we relocated and joined my husband. So not doing that, not allowing that. And secondly, this wasn't really a challenge, but I think I want to mention is that one of the things I've realized have been challenges is not having conversations about your children with your spouse. I am one that believes that I don't have to wait for things to go wrong before I talk about them. So I have topics and things that we talk about from time to time. So when everything is fine, about this boy. So this is what I saw. This is what I realized. And then we have the conversation. And then, okay, what are the actions we're going to carry out? What should I do? What are you going to do? And then we agree, and everybody goes. Nobody knows we've discussed it except the two of us. We both go and do whatever it is we've said we're going to do. So not having that conversation, not maximizing partnership with your spouse. And if you're co-parenting, who says you can't maximize parenting with the child's parents? You can. It's just being intentional, and where you need help, ask for help. And do it together with others. That's it. I hope that was clear.
Fantastic. This is so important, right? Because no matter how good you are as a dad, there's a perspective that your wife will bring to it. No matter how excellent you are as a dad, as a father, you cannot be a mother to that child. No matter how excellent you are as a mother, you cannot be a dad to that child. There is a perspective that his dad or a male figure, a respected male figure. So for those who have lost their spouses, for example, you can't get a male figure that will represent something to the child. That's just the way it is. It gives a balance. So I like how you said it, that you're not just depriving that dad, you are depriving that child.
That child, yeah.
You are depriving, because that child is supposed to come into an environment where they look to see, different perspective, different worldview. You don't want a child that will just focus in one particular direction alone. It's
and you know what, Dr. Victor, that's parenting, that's allowing the father. At that time, when Fokwe was in year 7, it was his grades. He didn't like maths. Amazing, he's studying sciences now, but he didn't like maths, and his grades wasn't very excellent. And one day we were talking, and part of what to do, my husband, I said to him, God bless him, he loves to write exams. The day they said no more exam in this world, I don't know what that man is going to do. So we're just talking, and I was saying, okay, Shippy, you're always reading. Why not, when you're reading, just call them and say, okay, come and read on the table with me, And as they began to do that together, I don't know what they did though, because sometimes I would come in and look at them, and I knew that it wasn't really taking time to say, okay, I'm teaching you the math or anything. But I don't know what they did. The boy's grade moved from that particular term, half term, it moved from a D. Was it a D or an E or a U? One horrible thing like that, to a B.
Wow.
In 6 weeks.
Wow.
And I was like, oh my word.
Wow.
Since then, you people must be friends. Oh yeah.
Wow.
You could just see the transformation, not just in him, but even in the children. The fact that I think it's key. And I'm going to shout it at the rooftop for mothers of boys. A lot of the times we make the mistake, we want to shield our sons. A boy's first love is his mom. So we want to shield that love and everything. But I think there is also the room, there's also wisdom in, being open-minded to allowing them as well.
Awesome.
Another thing I like that you said is how you are proactive about parenting them. To say, when everything is normal, okay, in a situation like this, how are we going to handle this? Okay, this is what I observed. What do you think we should do about it? And that in itself, because sometimes, like you said, mothers can be like mother hen. They want to just protect, and you begin to hear languages like, yeah, my son, my son. That's why unconsciously you just said it. Can you help me? And he pointed to you that it's not help. I'm not helping you.
They're my
They
children.
are my children. We're doing it together. We are partners in this journey. On this journey. Fantastic.
Okay, so sometimes you hear complaints about teenagers. Did you have this kind of, did you have experiences like that, for some of the things we hear about teenagers, negative things we hear about them? Did you experience that? And if you did, what did you do about them?
Okay. Yes, I think we all do. We all did. Even my parents complained about me as well. So, yeah, I think there was a program I did that one of the questions I asked was, can we flash back? When did issues with teenagers begin? Do you think it began when your child became a teenager? No, it didn't. It's been there. My parents complained, back and back like that. So it's there, and it's not because that person is bad or whatever is happening. Whatever that person is going through is bad, but because it's that phase in their life. So did I go through it as well? Oh, amazingly, yes. In fact, I can write a book on all of those things. But I think is a case for us, how we manage those phases is we both said to ourselves at some point that, see, when one person is having it hot, the other person has to have it cold. Because both of us cannot have it hot at the same time. If we do, we would most likely lose the children.
Absolutely.
So being each other's support cushion, if that makes sense. So when mom is like, what's wrong with this boy? Are you okay? Dad is like, don't worry, I'll handle it. Just calm down. Just calm down. So did we go through it? Like I said, oh yes. And then again, I think that's realization of my parents complained about me when I was a teenager. Even though if you ask me, I say it, and whenever I say it, my husband goes, I say, I was a perfect teenage girl. But, and my son's kind would probably say, oh, I was a perfect teenage girl. I was a perfect teenage boy. Because like I said, I was a perfect teenage girl, But my parents still complained. So why were they complaining? There was something wrong. And it wasn't that there was something wrong with me, but there was something we all just did not understand. And so I think I began to realize that, see, these children will go through phases that I won't understand. And trust me, it's okay not to understand what is happening, but it's not okay not to empathize with them. It's not okay not to be sensible. It's not okay not to be patient. So we began to work together. Say, okay, one is not patient, the other will be. There are moments where two of us are like, you know what, I can't deal. Let's talk about this later. So delayed gratification. When things are being heated and everything, we go, okay, let's talk about this later. Something that happened very recently, I want to believe my son won't mind me mentioning it. When my youngest son began to drive, both of them decided driving early because we live in a small village and, you have to be mobile. And when he began to drive at about 17, he would drive himself to school. And there was a day I was praying in the room, and my husband said he just felt like going to search my son's car. And he went to search the car. And he came to me. I think what I was praying about was, Lord, if there's anything we need to pay attention to in this home, draw our attention to it. opened my eyes to it. In my life, in my husband, in the children. I pray such prayers sometimes. So they say when you pray those kind of prayer, be careful, because when God will open something like, hey, you know. And I think I wasn't feeling well. This was around my birthday that year. I wasn't feeling very well. My husband just came upstairs and said, look at what I saw in your son's car. And I'm like, in my son's car or in your son's car? And he said, well, see, look at what I found in our son's car. What was it? Cigarettes. You know, all this rolled up cigarettes and lighter. And I was like, no way. At that moment, my head was, and then my husband was upset. But remember what I said, when one is hot, the other is cool. So I just told myself, I have to be the cool one here. And I just sat on my bed and tears were raining from my eyes. And just then, he called the boy, and the boy was quiet. And he said, oh, my friends tried it. They gave me to try. I tried it. I couldn't stand it. And I didn't know what to do with it. And I just left it in my car. And I said, you tried it? He said, yes. As I was about to say, how could you try such a thing? I was like, madam, what if he didn't tell you the truth? What if he tried it, he likes it, and he decides to be doing it in secrets that you can't see it? Because he doesn't like it. That's why he was careless about it. And, you know, because he knows his dad uses his car. I don't use his car, but his dad does, you know. And I was just like, there's something to be grateful to God for here. So that was a tough one. And I said to my husband, I said, in fairness, when our children were younger teenagers, because we talk a lot, we have family meetings and all those conversations, it wasn't so tough. And I was like, the stress these boys didn't give us when they were in the younger teenage years. I beg, I don't want stress now. And my husband was like, he said something. I was upset about it. But later reflecting, I was like, okay. He said, yes, he doesn't like it, but how about if God is trying to train you by himself based on the assignment he has given you? What if God is trying to make you learn some things? And I just looked at her and said, please, just go. Just go. But later reflecting it, and then I called my younger sister, told me, and we're talking about it, and said, yes, sis, that's exactly when I thought what I thought when you told me. So did we go through this? We did do. But like I say, it's those moments of going back to reflect. Okay, what am I going to learn from this? Why did we go through this? What's the curve here? What can we be grateful to God for here? And then what can we learn from it? And my word, going back to that word that God has given to me, the word say, okay, this is the word. Oh yeah, I begin to confess it. This child, this is who you are. This is, you know, and then on and on and on like that. And because I confess the word, I'm also very vigilant. I'm also watchful to see that word. This is the evidence. You know, those tiny drops of glitters in the big cloud of uncertainty. I watch out. I'm very deliberate. That thing clicks. Oh, that's that word. That's that word. You know, and I'm excited. I'm sharing with my husband. You know that prayer. You know that confession. See this tiny thing in the midst of all of this. So I think that has kept me as a person. And I think my husband will say the same thing as well, going as a parent while we go through those challenges.
Wow.
Fantastic.
Wow.
Fantastic.
You went deep. Thank
Fantastic.
you. Thank you. There's so much to learn from all you shared. Thank you.
Thank you.
Honestly, for me, what I picked from here is about perspective. You know, don't focus on the negative thing, what has happened.
Yes.
I noticed that you use a lot of coaching questions. What can I learn from this? What am I not seeing? What are the positive things around this? And that shifts your state. I learned that when you ask the right question, it can shift your state. You know, somebody will ask, why me? Somebody else is asking, what can I learn from this? Two different outcomes to come out from same event.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, and then when you confess, you are focusing on the, you know, confessing God's word over them. You are looking out for the tiny little, like Elijah hand in the whole cloud that will make you know that there is an abundance of rain.
Yeah, exactly.
These two shall pass. Fantastic.
Just because we're running for time, I mean, there's so much we can stretch some of the things you're saying, but wow, we'll let our audience deal with that. Okay, but I'm sure in all of this there were high points, there were exciting moments. Can you share some with us?
Okay, when you say exciting moments, can you explain that? Exciting moments in terms of
in the phase where they were teenagers, in their teen years, what high points did you have as a mother with a teenager?
And some wins.
Some wins. Like I said, I think I can talk about the wins more than the challenges. Trust me, because this is what I focus on. And I always say to parents that I work with, one of the things I say to parents I work with is go write down the boy you see, not necessarily the boy you think you have right now. The boy you see, write it down. And that kind of helps to focus on the wins. So I think more than, if you ask me, it doesn't mean I haven't had challenges. And even as they are young adults, I was saying to my husband the other day, I think I was more prepared for the teenage years than for the young adult years. So it doesn't mean I haven't had challenges, but there are lots of wins. The wins of my child, like I said, my husband finding something in the sun, but my boy's car, and coming to discuss it with us. I mean, we ask him and he's telling the truth, and we're discussing it, even though we're both angry, but we're able to come back to discuss it later on. Another win with my teenage sons were the fact that we taught them to be able to make decisions. And my husband would say, tell me what you think you should do, and we will talk about it. So just yesterday I said this, I said, only God knows. I'm so grateful to God for why he decided not to go to uni in Europe, because he wanted to get in for medicine. He didn't, and he got a place for biomedical sciences and biochemistry and stuff like that. So he's studying biomedical sciences right now. But at that point, I remember me trying to get him to go to unis in Europe, Peru, Ukraine, and he just said, and then he also got an offer in Newcastle. He went for medicine. He went to Newcastle. He came back and said it's too far. And I'm like, it's not. We just a train away, blah, blah, blah. I said, no, Mom, I'm not going. So when the Peru and Ukraine and all of those came up, he said, Mom, I didn't go to Newcastle. I said I wasn't going to Newcastle because it's too far. What gives you the impression I'll go all that way? And I'm like, okay. And my husband said, you know what? If he says he's happy with what he wants to go and study in Birmingham, then let him. And look at what's happening in all of those places today. Look at what's happening in all of those places today. And then we're looking at, yesterday I was still saying that on the news that, wow, thank God we listened to them, because I had paid for the exam for him to go. And he said, Mom, I'm not sitting that exam because I know I will pass it. And if I pass the exam and I don't go for it, you'll be disappointed. So he didn't even sit the exam, And another great win, which I think is the most important one for me as a parent, is the fact that our children have come to know God for themselves. They've come to identify who God is in them, for them, and on the journey with them. So it's not a case of my mom's faith, but my faith. There was a time, in fairness, I said to them, I'll come. When I told somebody, I asked my children this question, she was like, are you okay? I said, are you a Christian or not? I just want to know. And my son said, I believe Jesus died and resurrected. I know there is God. I know I have God. I know God. I know this. Is that what being a Christian is? If it is, then yes, I am. If it is not, then I am not. Okay, that's the part that I asked. But thank you.
Wow.
You know, so I think that's like the very major one for me, because a man who knows God for himself
Mm.
will make good decisions, will
Mm.
live life based on pleasing God, not
Mm.
anyone else. And when when you live life based on pleasing God, of course, you know you are majority with man. You
Mm.
know,
Mm.
yeah.
Mm.
That's, I think those are like a few that that I highlight, kind of
Yeah.
highlights now.
Yes. Another one I think you mentioned earlier on was the relationship you have with them and they have with their father.
That's a win.
That's a massive
Don't
win.
talk about your relationship with your father if you don't want to make me jealous.
Honestly, my sister, that's a massive win because sometimes some people don't want to. Some teenagers, because they've experienced a lot of trauma at home, they want to get as far as possible from their parents.
Yeah.
Can you imagine getting an admission in his place and saying he's not going? He wants to be closer home. That's the reverse for many people. They're like, I just want to go to the uttermost part of the earth. You people don't call me so that before you come, by the time you think how far you have to travel, you will not bother coming to check on me. You know, so that's a very powerful thing. And you can't force a relationship. They have to be willing to give it. They have
Yeah.
to be willing to give other access as well. So that's, for me, that's a phenomenal way. And then talking about their relationship with God, oh my word, nothing gladdens the heart of any parents. To be like the people that came through you, you had the privilege to raise are
Yeah.
also, people of faith, people who have come to know God for themselves. Not because my dad said Jesus Christ is God. I believe that he is God. That's
Yeah.
powerful.
Yes.
That's powerful.
Yes.
I don't
Thank
think.
you. Thank you so much for sharing and taking us places today.
Mm.
Um, so as we draw close to it, the end of it, what would you say has been your proudest moment as a mother?
People are, you are really digging me. What my proudest moment as a mother? Hmm. Wow. With my children, my proudest moment as a mother, I think, was the moment my for Kwefodua. It was the moment there was a time where I think just after the cigarette thing and everything, and one day I just said, you know what, I just told him, I said, I need to talk to you, and just let me know when you're available and we would talk. So on this particular Saturday, he came into my room and said, Mom, what's your plan today? Are you busy? I said, not quite. It's just a chilled Saturday for me. Okay, can we go on a drive together? I said, okay, yeah, sure. So he came and we agreed on a time, and he came, took me in his car. We drove, and then he drove to, I don't even know where the place is, but I think it's one of the routes that you go to when they're learning to drive. And we entered this massive Tesco, went to the far end of the Tesco, the car park, and parked there and said, Mom, you said we needed to talk. I'm like, I didn't know, if I didn't know this is why we came here, you know. The fact that I told him I wanted to talk to him, and he felt, okay, let's go to a place, and a place where we will not be interrupted. And he parked in the far corner, and he said, you said we needed to talk. And then we spoke. I told him, you know, quote and unquote, a few questions I had in my head. And these questions were around alcohol, drugs, and sex, the three big whatevers, you know. And I asked him, and as I asked, God bless for Pafolowa, he studied psychology, so he's a very good psychologist. So as I'm asking, he was answering me one by one. And after answering, he was like, do you have any more questions around that? Okay, no, I'm fine. Okay, Mom, let's go to the next one. Drugs. Talk about it, and then we'll go. Let's go to the next one. Sex. And when he came back from school on Friday, he was on my bed and we're just chatting. And you know, as a mother, you have some questions in your head, and you're thinking, okay, how do I push this question out, particularly at this age? And I said, your brother was telling me about a few things that happen in unis and everything. Have you been able to manage like all these girls jumping on you for to smooch, random sex, and all of those things and everything. He said, Mom, you have raised a good son, and I don't want you to worry. He said, now I'm not very proud. This is the thing I said, probably I won't say on here that he said, you guys taught us everything. He said, but maybe you didn't teach me one thing, but I saw you teach my brother. So maybe I wasn't quite interested in that. And you didn't push, but I wish you had pushed. I said, what was that? He said, you didn't teach me to cook, how to cook. And I'm like, no. He said, you didn't teach me how to cook. So I think right now I feel it, but my brother doesn't feel it because he knows how to cook. He said, but Mom, I don't want you to feel bad about that because you taught me everything. To sex, to managing girls, to empathizing with people who are not, whose values are not my values, or I think their values are not the right value. And he went on and I was like,
Man.
okay. So after he left, I called his brother and said, it feels good. I want to hear it from the other boy.
Oh, wow.
And when my oldest son came in, he said, because he went through a traumatic experience last year. And I think you feel about that, Dr. Victor, and used to, and he said, Mom, thank you for being patient with me through those months and doing everything to be sure that I am well, even when I push back. And this was just this weekend, and they meant a lot to me. I felt glad. I felt, oh God, I am grateful. When Apostle Paul says, I have fought the good fight, and I said, Lord, I am grateful. Because was it easy? Maybe not altogether. And that's why I keep saying, these two shall come to pass. And somebody might be listening to me and saying, she's a fantastic mom. She's this. One thing I said at the beginning is, I love to learn. I love education. You see this Dr. Victor you're seeing here? Sometimes I'll just pick up the call. So, and I'll call and I'll ask. Sometimes when myself and his wife are going on events and those drives, we don't just drive, take those 30, 40 minutes drive, gisting, sweet nonsense. No, we're learning from each other. I just pull up a question. And that's me being deliberate with my relationship. So parents, relationships matter. What are the relationships in your life? There are some relationships that I don't joke with. They are not relationships of Owambe. How many Owambes or party do I even attend? Owambe is party in Nigerian term. How many? But those key relationships that I can pick up my phone or we go out. 5 minutes we have together. I have a question. You remember, Dr. Victor, there was a question I called you for about sex for young men. That my son asked me a question. I'm like, hey, myself and my husband were thinking, Dr. Victor. So even though I'm a parenting coach, I coach teenage boys. I still have people I run things by. And I think I would celebrate those people as part of my wins as a mother and even in ministry.
Wow.
Awesome.
Wow.
So we're not called to do it alone. There's a reason we've been planted in community. So we need to just tap into that.
When God created man, he said so that we will fellowship together.
Yes.
So not you can't do it alone. You can't.
We were having this conversation a few days ago, and we were talking about, when they say experience is a good teacher. And there's something that happened that we were laughing and we said, no, it doesn't have to be your experience.
No.
You can learn from the experience of others. You don't have to wait until that situation happens to you. And that's why we're there, to learn from others.
It's even foolishness to wait till it happens to you. It's foolishness. One of my friends, a friend that we could say a very close friend, said, I look at your life and I say, your life is so perfect. I said, yes, because I will never make the mistakes you have made. I learned from the lives around me. So maybe my life is not altogether perfect the way she thought, but hello, I will learn and learn.
Absolutely.
Maybe because one of my core values is enjoying life. So I'm learning. okay, this is what this person has done. This is what this person is doing. One of the things I learned from Dr. Victor is being calm. Just be calm. Life is not running away. Even though I'm but hey, there are those moments, babe, just calm down. And I just look at him and say, if this man can be calm, okay, let me just calm down. Just take in the moments. Dr. Victor, that's one beautiful thing about you. And I'm telling you today that I learned from you.
Can I tell you what I learned from you? The word impossibility doesn't mean anything.
Yes, that's true.
If you put your mind to something, oh my word, she gets it done. And there's one person that, if you are going to battle, they need in your corner. I will pick you 10 times.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
I'm telling you that you can say, this one is my friend. I can go to battle with her. I'll pick you 1,000 times. I'm telling you. You are such a reliable person.
Oh, thank you.
No, okay, we're having some choking moments now. Wrap this up. But it's just been an amazing time with you, and we really, really appreciate your time. Thank you for going deep. Like you shared some deep things that we have learned from as well. You know, we like to be proactive, so it's just brilliant that you shared a number of things, and we're going to go back to the drawing board to say, okay, what can we do about this ahead of time? So thank you so much for being so real, keeping it vulnerable, you know, and we want to appreciate your dear husband and your lovely sons as well, and appreciate them on our behalf for letting you share some of the stories you have shared with us today.
Thank you. Will do. Thank you very much for having me. And yeah, I always, you know, guys, I love you too, and I always love to be in your corner. I always love to be with you. If we can move to your neighborhood, I will. I can just see you every day.
So viewers will be leaving her details in the description box. So feel free to follow her. You find the links there. She's doing great job on with Joshua's Army. And I think you have an event coming up soon.
Yes.
I think by the time this will be airing, we'll be at the event. So yes, so just hook up with her for more events that will be coming through the year.
And subscribe to our YouTube channel as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
All right.
God
so we'll
bless
see you on the next one. Bye.
Bye-bye.